Hey, you recognize this bike? It's a Parlee custom carbon bike out of Maine. This company seems to be pretty well known for their custom built carbons. This guy is in for a tune-up, bleed brakes, and a wax chain. And we're going to review this beautiful custom Chabaco. Actually, that's a gravel bike, right? It looks pretty sweet. In for a tune-up, and let's just get cracking at this. Without further ado, I can't wait. This thing's beautiful. Also, going to be doing a little detailing after this. Hi, welcome back to another Guy Bicycles, hanging with the guy. Hey, I'm Justin the Guy on this whole bike series. Ooh, not so old. No, not old at all. Well, maybe a little older. But in any case, it's a Parlee. Parlee is a custom carbon builder up in the upper eastern seaboard-ish. I'll have a link below if you want to check out their website. Kind of cool stuff. I've seen a few Parlees out there, not a lot. It's one of those unique niche companies that if you have the ability or the finances to make yourself a nice custom frame, this is a carbon manufacturer. Well, I wouldn't say manufacturer, a custom builder. Let's back up on that, where they can take specs and basically give you the best performing ride for your body, right? Because manufacturing, they just have a cookie cutter, 6, 7, 8 sizes sometimes to kind of fit every, which works most of the time, which is fine. I'm not knocking that, but a custom is kind of really cool because it's really designed for you and for the best riding experience that you can have for that kind of riding. This is gravel, so this is a gravel riding experience. Really kind of nice stuff. And this also has the Ultegra Di2, which if you don't know what that is electronic shifting, basically. A 2x11. Pretty sure it's 11. And I believe it's a 2018. The customer dropped this off to have it tuned up. The brakes, they seem kind of spongy, so we're going to clean those up by bleeding them and also cleaning the pads and doing all that jazz with the disc brakes. In addition to, he opted to have the works, basically, that's going to be detailed, the ceramic coating on the paint. I'm going to make this thing look better than new because you don't have a ceramic coating when it comes out of the box brand new. I'm going to make it even better. In any case, I'm excited about working on this because, well, number one, I don't get to work on a lot of custom bikes, which I really enjoy doing. I've had over the years. And in a sense, this is not like a hodgepodge custom too, which is kind of nice. I don't want to discourage anybody, but sometimes you get these bikes in, it's like, oh yeah, it was custom built. Well, they just pieced it from all sorts of random pieces. This was actually designed and built up with all these parts in mind for the design of the bike, so it's pretty awesome. They also have a different stack level here, which is kind of cool. I've noticed right off the bat on the head tube here, where the customers mentioned there's different sizes you can get. This brings actually the stack level height, so you can kind of control that upper level integrated kind of feel there, which is really cool. Carbon fork, obviously, carbon frame custom. Reading up on Parlee, and they've been established since 2000. Bob and Isabel is the original owners. I still believe they own it today. A little less hands-on because they have a team that builds the carbons up, but it's actually still, in a sense, hands-on, that they're still producing the frame with the concept in mind of making the bike ride the best for you. Apparently this thing accelerates. We'll do a little test ride after this video, or actually the tune-up, and kind of see how it performs, how it feels. Granted, it is not my size or custom to built to me, but the guy's pretty close to my size, so I'm gonna really enjoy this kind of bike. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, so the Di2, we're gonna do a drivetrain clean. Well, you can't just dip your derailleurs that are electronic in ultrasonic cleaner, so don't do that. It's going to be a lot of cleaning, flossing, light degreasers, that kind of thing. The jockey pull is I'm going to toss in there and clean up. The cassette and the chain's going to get clean, and also it's going to get a nice Silco wax treatment on that. So we're going to get him elevated. He bought this bike a few years back. Hasn't ridden a lot. It's second in his stable, or one of many in his quiver. So I'm really interested to see what else he brings. He's mentioned he's going to bring others for me to work on. Hopefully I do a spectacular job that he actually does. Never assume. I never do as a bike mechanic. I always try to do my best, but sometimes my best doesn't fit to some people's expectations. In any case, I try to over-exceed. Anyway, sidebar on that. Yeah, we're going to make this thing immaculate. It has some dust. It's been ridden a little bit on dirt and so forth. You can tell by the looks of it, that kind of thing. But back to Parlee. They custom build the tubing, and it's not just your, it's not a cut out of the mill cookie cutter frames. They actually have all the tubes there. You put it in your order with a different size and geometry, I believe, and then they custom build the frame, and then they wrap it up with the rest of the bits and so forth. But in any case, that kind of attention to detail and custom paint and all that kind of thing is pretty schwank. I don't see a lot of these. Parlee, he used to be a former novice weekend warrior racer, as he has in his promo video, YouTube there as well. Has been in the business. It came from the boating industry, where putting boats together using carbon fiber, so he had a lot of experience with carbon. And then he provided or built up a bike that he exceeded the bike frames that he's been riding before, which doesn't feel like he had the best experience there. But looking at the newer model, I mean, this is pretty cool, because it has a couple of bits. It has this Quartar crank, which is kind of a power meter device similar to the Stages, which is now unfortunately gone under, and it's going to be probably revamped underneath Giant after the end of the day, but that's a whole nother story. It has all Tager componentry, DI2, which is really nice. You can do a lot of different programming on it too. It's just super smooth and makes it easier to shift, that kind of thing. A longer cage derailleur, accommodate for the wider range, the hydraulic brakes. But back to the frame itself, they do have like these custom drops that are for the through axle for the rear. I've seen this on Poseidon, so you can switch it from like your standard drop versus a through axle. So that was kind of a cool. You can't do that as easy. Well, you can't do that with a fork, because it's either one or the other kind of deal. I'm not sure if they have switch out, but if you have these and if they get boogered up or whatever, it's nice to have it integrated to be separate from the frame. So therefore, you can switch out those parts once damaged, if they do get damaged, and you don't have to redeal with the whole frame. Knowing custom frames and knowing carbon buildup, especially back in the history of Trek, back in the day of the 90s when Trek rolled out their fancy OCLV frames and were building them in the United States, they could basically take a cracked frame and fix it. I'm not sure if that's something that Parlee is willing or does, as in repairing frames that they actually sold, but there's a lot of other carbon manufacturers out there. Knowing this is a custom, I'm sure it was a pretty penny, and it goes into that higher level of frames where, for example, I believe there's a company in England where if you do have a damaged carbon, they will match the type of carbon and repair it with that particular carbon, and they have custom paint, so they can paint it and decal it to be almost exact, if not a dead-on match, so you will never even know the carbon was actually damaged. So, and that is, I'm pretty sure, a pretty expensive lift. For example, a quarter size hole damage in the local Colorado market, you're looking at $300 to $400 to have something like that fixed and patched. Those you do see, you can see that they usually do a really good job. It's not like a total eyesore, but you definitely can tell it's been repaired by either the carbon weave itself or the bulkiness that it do to reinforce it. Can you repair carbon? Yes. Is it still safe to ride? Absolutely. Actually, it's kind of like breaking a bone and having a titanium plate put in there. That's the strongest point on the bike. So that repairs, if it's done right, it's going to outlast any other bits if you have any problems with it. So don't shy away from carbon. Don't shy away from steel or titanium. Those can be repaired. Aluminum becomes a paperweight. Unfortunately, aluminum cannot be repaired. It's one of those things that's not, they don't have any, there's not really a good process to that. But with the carbons, titaniums, and steels, you sure can, absolutely. So Well, what else I'm going to be doing to this bike? Well, I'm doing the cleaning of the brakes. Basically, I take the brake pads out, clean them up with rubbing alcohol, get all the contaminants off, burn them. Sometimes a little bit of light sanding or steel wool to get any kind of contaminants on there. The rotors themselves, I do that as well. Or not the sanding part, just using rubbing alcohol. I don't burn them on the wheels, but it does kind of clean that surface off to give you the best braking surface possible. If you have squealing problems, that usually nips that. Sometimes squealing problems are related to the compound they're using those brake pads for discs, so you might want to try switching out to a different pad that might have a little bit better. Also note that disc brakes, when you get a bike that's new or you replace the pads need to be burned in. In other words, you got to put them on and ride around your neighborhood several times, about a mile's worth, to really heat up that pad to kind of embed itself with that rotor so you have the best performance from there on out. Just don't throw in some new pads and go and hit the trail, because you may get some not performance that you're wanting, and all of a sudden you're all miffed because my brakes are not working. I put new pads in. Well, you didn't burn them in. So therefore, you want to burn them in first without any excess contaminants or any of that nature. There's some other stuff out there. There used to be a company called Squeal Out. You can put on there as a process to help some of those less inferior pads from squeaking or brake systems from squeaking. But anyway, kind of went a rabbit hole in the brakes, but there, it's one of those things. With the hydraulic brakes, a little bit higher maintenance to them, better performance, but there's a maintenance lift to it. As well as Di2, got to make sure it's charged up, it's working correctly, it's clean. There's some adjustments to the actual derailleurs itself to make sure they're in line so they don't throw chains and that kind of thing. A lot of it contains to the programming, which is usually based on the customer or when it's first initial setup, when it's been sent to the customer to be done. So keep that in mind. If you're buying a bike online, direct to consumer, you may have a little homework to do that you need to do with the Di2 or the SRAM ETAP systems to kind of get yourself up to speed on those things. But this particular bike, pretty awesome. And looking at the company, pretty cool. They've been around for 25 years. Yeah, I'm usually working on a lot older stuff, so I'm really going to have a joy of tearing into this and making it beautiful. But in any case, I'm going to dive into this, crank up some tunes, get in the mood, get focused, do my job. I will pop up with a video if I come across any super boo-boos. We need to double check. If not, we're going to go straight to the reveal of the parts being cleaned and the waxed frame, and do the revealing of the knockdown of the ceramic coating. This is a pretty paint job. I mean, it looks kind of just orange right now, but it does have a glitter to it, I believe, if I remember correctly. And when you brought it in the sun, I was like, ooh, that's pretty. I like pretty paint jobs. In any case, let's check this out. Man, wow. Yeah, just wow. Yeah, fun stuff. Oh yeah, the customer, lo and behold, if you're a bike shop watching this is actually a referral from an actual event I did for the Bike MS. So you never know. Those customers may like what you're doing out there in the field. They might bring in some business. So not that I do it for actually that, honestly. When I do support rides like for Bike MS, it's actually to better myself because I'm out there in the mix with those potential customers. But that reminds me as a mechanic, as a cyclist, as an enthusiast of being in the cycling community, it kind of revives anything that brings me to embrace the cycling, gets my head out of this, the square space I'm in right now, and makes me what? A better mechanic, a better person for advocating for cycling, a better person all over. In any case, that's why you do it, not for the referrals. But hey, this one I got a gem out of, so can't complain. Well, let's dive into this. Well, here we have it. Yep, got ourselves a coffee, second day, same bike. Cassette came out super clean. And jockey pulleys, look how amazing those guys turned out. Yeah, those are chainring bolts. Yeah, I took the whole crank set apart due to the fact I didn't want to submerge it in the ultrasonic cleaner. And I thought it was bubbling or something, but it's actually just a plastic sleeve that needs to be pulled off of that. So took it out, cleaned the bearing surface areas and so forth. One of these pedals is kind of chunky, so Yeah, this one here. So I'm going to take the tool, pop it apart, see if I can make it a little bit cleaner for them. In addition to the cleaning, chain rings already been cleaned, and I put a ceramic wax coating on all the parts that you're seeing here. Therefore, adds a little added protection, better color brilliance. Same thing for the bottle cages. Took the bolts out, and bam! Look how immaculate this wheel turned out. I mean, super clean, pretty true. Hubs are good, and the rear just the same. Pretty clean, true. I put that ceramic wax coating, which is this Mother's brand, and the tire treatment here. Clean the frame and the parts, and combination with ultrasonic cleaner with wherever I could. I polished the frame. Yep, let's see it. Bam! Look how clean this frame is. I just put on the first stack of ceramic coating, which I'm going to let this dry for a few minutes, and put a second stack on it, and kind of really hit the bottom areas where it was really dirty before, underneath this area and these bits here. And I try to clean up with the polish as much as possible inside. The smallest micro little boo-boo is right here on the frame. Clean that up, except for the internal tire scarring here for mud. But other than that, this frame is immaculate shape. Just bled the brakes. That's why I see the pads in there. I had the wheels in there to get the brakes bled. They're set to go. So basically finishing up with the ceramic coating of the frame. Then I'll reassemble, and then we'll do a little review. Wow, that was fun. It just fun to work on something that's obviously newer. Bleeding the brakes on road. It's been a while since I did that. It was kind of fun to refresh my my skill set on that. Got them to feel a lot better, more equal, that kind of thing. So refresh, got the bubbles out. Seems to be working good. The pads have a lot of meat to them still, so that looks good. Everything cleaned up really nice, so immaculate, and got the chain rings back on there. Got the little jockey pulleys on there. Oh, what's missing? Oh yeah, the chain. It's cooling off. We're doing a wax, and we're knocking down the ceramic coating, which I put on 2.5, 3 stack. Oh man, that's shine. Woohoo! Feels super smooth. It has a dull haze at first, and when you knock it down, which is what they call knocking down the ceramic coating, getting that haze off, or the gasoline look from Adams. There various brands will have their own kind of deal about that, but this particular one, ooh, yeah, that just super made it a high gloss, like candy. Oh man, candy red, a little bit of orange, and I did a little extra lavender to underneath parts where it may get more dirty, like underneath the fork blade, the chainstay, the seat stay. I had a little bit of scuffage there, and underneath the down tube. The reason being, there's a lot of cake up underneath the down tube, and when I was cleaning it, I did try to use, what they call clay bar. Clay bar is used in the auto industry to pull up all those micro little bits that embedded into the clear coat or the paint. You use from lithium. I got the clay bar with luster lube. Makes it slick, so it's kind of like your old Play-Doh, you know, kind of thing. You manipulate it and you wipe the area. You dampen the area with the luster, and then you push it down. And what that is, pulls all that gunk off of the coating, so you have a pretty much super clean, debris area. I mean, obviously you want to clean everything first before you do this, but this is kind of like the final stage before you put a good ceramic coating to seal all those micro style abrasions from road debris or any of those kinds of things, and pull out all that gunk, because it was pretty caked up underneath there. Especially gravel bikes do a lot of cake up, and you're on like either dirt, you know, gravel, sometimes chip seal, ugly condensed, you know, everything gets thrown at it underneath there. So if you add a little extra cleaning to it and extra protection, that really helps the helps the the ceramic coating to do its job. So yeah, here we got the pre-waxed or waxed chain, not pre-waxed, waxed. So you can see it's all stiffy. So what I like to do is do kind of a pre-run. This is your old school chain cleaner. Never been used as a chain cleaner. It was brand new plastic when I got the idea of using this. And what this does for me is kind of breaks it up a little bit. That way it kind of is a little more pliable to put on the bike. And once I have it on the bike, I go ahead and do another 500 revolutions. Well, not that many, but I do about 10 or 20 each direction just to give it a little more flex to it. This is basically you're doing the same thing when you're breaking it down on your first ride. This kind of just helps that journey, so the customer, the end result is a shorter window of time until they get the full effect of the smoothness of the chain. This way it makes it a little less clunky, and it prevents, you guessed it, prevents any by mishaps, because the chain is stiff. And if you're jumping on it and you crank real hard, you're going to get yourself in a hot mess quick. Reason being is you don't want to bind up those gears while it's still pretty, I mean, basically you got a whole bunch of stiff links, which is a super no-no. So you want to make sure those are kind of broken free before you get aggressive on your ride and get this to break free. This, I believe, is 11-speed Shimano. Yeah. And Shimano 11 speeds will be blank on one side and are logoing on the other. The blank, it needs to be on the inside of the bike, so you want to see the logoing on the outside, so it is directional. That is the case. Now I want to make sure I get down to my smallest cog, thread this through so diligently, and got the jockey pulleys on there. The jockey pulleys are specific too. They're not both, there's an upper and a lower. One is the tension one, which will be a marked T, and the other one will have a D for direction. The direction on these have a deeper teeth structure, kind of like your 1x chain rings, that kind of thing. So therefore you want to be a little careful when you put those jockey pulleys back together and make sure they're in the right spot. And without being blinded by the shop lights, see my got lights over here that's illuminating the bottom half of me, and it's right where that chain. Okay, perfect. So I got it on there, right? Okay, so you got your chain on there. That's where the power, the quick links, power links, quick connects, whatever you want to call them. Each brand has their own little flavor because, you know, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to do this on the bike, but first I'm going to kind of let me just show you this. So first, you just want to get it on the cog that's smallest. Then you just, obviously this is electric shifting, so you want to do this probably first on the stand because it'll automatically drive itself. So I'm just kind of going through all the gears. This just does nothing but just kind of move the chain around a little bit lightly, and I find a good vertical spot, parallel spot, that's what I'm saying, parallel, back to front, middle to mid-rein. And I can put my little fancy-dancy, high-end, expensive, not so high-end, expensive chain cleaner scrubber, and I'll go pedal backwards on this. So at first it's going to be a pretty strong tug, so be careful and make sure everything's aligned. Then all of a sudden, after about 10 or 20 swipes, you'll feel this break-free moment where it becomes a lot smoother. And then when I'm at that stage, I start twisting the tool just a little bit, like a millimeter or two different directions. And that way it's just kind of shedding the external wax and giving it more pliable feel. So when I'm on that test ride and also that first ride for the customer, it is not so darn chunky feeling. You get the better sensation of the smooth quietness. And after I test ride, I'll do it again just to double check it. But see there. All right, so how smooth it is now. And don't worry, you're not removing any of the wax that is important. It's only on the external plates, and it helps that chain massage and be more pliable. And you're just hearing, oh man. And so the benefits of wax is it's going to protect, well, the chain, number one, give you a smooth shifting, which incurs less damage to the teeth or wear. And in addition to, it prevents wear on the cassette and the chain ring and the jockey pulleys. Well, why is that important? Well, these little boogers are pretty damn expensive. So is the cassettes. Chains are the less lift. Jockey pulleys are in between there. So if you can prolong the life of your chain rings and cassette, obviously shifting a lot while you're riding. If it's easy, make it harder. If it's hard, to make it easy. Do the spinning, a little higher revolutions. Will make you shift a little bit more. But that also lengthens the life of the chain. Well, between 300 to 600 miles is what I've seen on a lot of my customers. Internet will say less, but you know, you can get up to that. And okay, so you got a wax chain. It's super smooth. You're doing great. You're in about 500 or 600 miles in it. I don't have time to take it in and adjust to get it waxed. So what do? I got a solution. Well, Silca makes their exact same formula, tungsten disulfide with paraffin wax. It's a liquid version, emulsified with water, 10%. So what you do is you put it in the big ring, and you go cross chain, and then you go down one, right here, and you find your power link, quick connect, whatever, link, missing link, whatever you want to call me. But just don't call me Bob or Sue. Yeah, Sue. Don't call me Sue. Then just do a drip on each link on the roller on the inside. One drop. Go through the whole chain. Usually it's around about 3 rotations. And kind of massage it. Rotate it. Don't shift it. Just massage it. So the reason why you're at the out chain and the in chain here, that opens up all those little cavities. The reason why I'm going backwards, because it's manipulating through the derailleur. That pushes all this liquid version into any of those gaps that may have lost a little bit of wax, that may be making a little bit of noise or less protection, and let it sit for a couple hours. This will become your re-wax chain to some level. Obviously, it's not the replacement of the hot wax, but it is a good compromise on a pre-event or big long ride. And be gentle on it for the first ride for about a mile or so, because you just waxed it. You want that excess to shed off. And the reason why you don't go over the gears, you don't want to spread that stuff all over. It only needs to stay on the chain. So therefore, you got a re-wax chain, good to go. Do your event or whatever. Then when you have time, or you have a second chain you can swap out that's already re-waxed, or when you have time to bring it into a guy like me, the guy, and we can get it re-waxed for you and thrown on there fresh. I've heard crazy stories like a guy got 10,000 miles on a chain. I don't believe those, but maybe. I don't know. It's like kind of like the Loch Ness Monster of chains and stuff. So this is nothing new at all. They've been waxing chains for the last century or so. They would put wax on, candle wax chains on bikes that did the Tour de France back in the day. So there we have it. Your wax chain, super smooth, ready to go. Let's take this bad boy for a test ride. All right, a beautiful day in the neighborhood for a test ride on a beautiful Parlee. Oh, check this out. All right. So again, I'm going to go light and play it on the actual shifting. Obviously, I'm not going to put a lot of load on it. Just let the chain do what it's supposed to do while shifting. But the brakes, they feel pretty good, equal, and stop well. So yeah, the basics of tune-up 101. It shifts and stops, and it's safe to ride. So let's start testing that shifting. Oh man, super smooth. Yeah, and on this particular bike, I'm going to get a little extra longer ride to get that wax to be at its most fun state, clean and smooth. But man, actually, how this feels, it feels pretty good. It's, you know, very smooth. Let's knock it down to bigger gear, a little faster. Let's feel that acceleration. Oh my goodness, everything they said it was and more. It accelerates very fast. I can feel a lot of energy being transferred to the rear wheel, but yet super comfy. Play with the gears. Just make sure they're hitting all where they're supposed to go. Where are we at? Oh, we're at small, super easy. Slow her down, give her acceleration. Man, everything that you want from a carbon for weight and comfort to how it handles. I don't feel like I'm over the bars. You know, has a little bit higher stack, a little more comfortable position, kind of like your gravel cyclocross position. A little more comfort enduro riding type feel. Man, yeah, I like it. It's actually a smidgen small for me, but super nice. Needless to say, I'm impressed. Super impressed. Yeah, boy, gotta love it. And you gotta love the Colorado. Beautiful sky. Well, a little hazy. Canada is invading with their smoke from actually some fires, forest fires that they have. It's seeped down in here, so it's a little hazy. So my riding has been a little curved this week due to the fact of that. All right, yeah, it's shifting, feels very supple, very comfortable. I feel very solid. I mean, very solid ride. And the fancy bits on this is that power meter from SRAM crankset, Ultegra Di2 componentry, carbon frame, and what they're talking about is the ovalization of the carbon tubing here, giving a little more rigidity, but the design here to give you more flex. So they've been doing that for years. Probably a little bit longer wheelbase. I haven't measured it out, but it looks like it's a little bit longer for more supple ride, comfort. Still handles well and quick. Doesn't feel like it's like I'm pulling a truck, trying to turn and so forth. But other than that, pretty nice. And that ceramic coating, it's like candy in the sunlight. Holy cow. And the wax will flake a little bit, of course, but it's starting to break in. And he's had waxes before, so he knows all the benefits from it. In any case, there's the Parlee and full carbon gravel bike deluxe. Love it. Thanks for hanging out with the garage with me. Until next time, if it's nice in your neck woods, please go for a ride. And I'll have information in the descriptions below. If you have a similar bike or similar style or whatever in the gravel, what have you, you want to share with the community, please go ahead and put it in the comments. This is the community, please share. And again, have a wonderful day. And before you take off, check out these beautiful pictures in this sun. Have a great day.